Who are you and what do you do?
I'm DSP and I leak music. I leak music because I feel like the communities and these hip hop communities deserve to hear what these artists do behind the scenes, and instead of keeping it in the vault, the fans deserve to hear the progress that they've gone through. I feel like leaks genuinely help the music industry as much as artists feel like they don't, just because of the simple fact that when an artist is able to express what they do on a track and then may say a label or something doesn't let them push it out, I feel like those leaks are benefiting the artist to help them understand and help the fan base understand where that artist is at in that time of point of their life. I feel like that genuinely helps the fan base understand that artists genuinely pour their heart and soul into their music. And when they're not able to drop it for whatever reasons or, label issues or anything along those lines, that when it's leaked, fans can understand in that point of time where that artist was at, what they might have been going through, anything along those lines.
So would you say it's kind of like an audio timeline?
Yes.
I know you aren't particularly fond of the music industry. Can you tell me why that's the case?
I'll say this right now, and I feel like this is one of the biggest things any artist can understand, is that there is no such thing as friends in the industry once you start to go mainstream. Your own friends snake you behind your back. They will sell your own music and genuinely ruin the possibility of ruining your career and where you want to go. And I personally feel like where the music industry stands now, it's not anymore of, hey, let's go make an awesome song together, let's go chill out in the booth and let's just make great tracks anymore. It's now you got to watch who's around you in there and who has their phone on them and everything along those lines. And I feel like that isn't what music should be. People go and make music to, make everybody, make a hit song or, make that next diamond classic. But it's hard to focus on that and focus on what you truly want to do when you have people like that in the industry always trying to make their next move and their next come up off of you. And I personally think the music industry is the rattiest industry ever to be. And don't get me wrong, I feel like labels have a huge deal part with that because, they try to lock in artists and under the fine print and lining that, at the end of the day, an artist can't truly be who they want to be. And I feel like when it comes to that, that's when these backdoor deals start happening with artists and, the friends of friends or the producer's friends, they try to get a taste of their own so that they can, make their next come up. So personally, the music industry, I think, is the worst industry you could be in right now.
That is a lot, but a lot of that is also true because once you do touch those big numbers, you got money on your name and you got people trying to make money off your name.
Exactly, and when that happens, when you get to that level, it's not fair to the artist that their own friends that they might have grown up with or that they've known since they were, a child, that they have to watch out if they have their phone in their hand recording something or, because a lot of people don't understand that these, 10-second snippets that are coming out, the person who's recording that is putting not only their life in danger, but also possibly ruining an artist's potential #1 hit that could come out that didn't even, want to even touch the surface until it was just released. And it's terrible, man. It genuinely is.
This next question I got for you, do you think leaks always help the music community?
I feel like leaks don't necessarily always help the community. They do genuinely hurt an artist. With Playboy Carti, he had a lot of new tracks leak recently, and it's because people want to make their next come up. And with that being said, we don't know if he wanted to ever release those songs. If at one point he wanted to, maybe change the song up and genuinely put the time and effort to make it into a great song. Once it gets leaked, it's hard for an artist to be like, hey, I want to release this and I want to give it to the public still when, maybe a quarter of the percentage of the fan base already has heard it, A perfect example of it was, Movie Time with Playboy Carti. He made that in 2019 and that was a song that he was going to have on an upcoming album. Unfortunately, the whole song had to be scrapped because of the fact that leakers, not even leakers, but his own friends got his hands on it and then started selling it. And when that happens, and it's now been leaked for months now, when that happens, he can't go back into the studio and change his song. It's not, no artist really wants to do that at the end of the day. And secondly, all the fans know how it already sounds, so they don't want to hear the same track over again.
I get that. And I have to ask you then, as someone who has leaked some pretty big Playboi Carti songs, do you feel kind of responsible for making them feel like, oh, now I can't put this out, this is going to be on the album, and now all of these people are listening to it? Or to you, is it more like, oh, his friends already took it, I might as well put it out?
The way I look at it is that with his friends and, how just the organization, and his group, it's the same, it's a lot of the same with everybody else. But when his friends have his hands on it, nobody knows anybody else's intentions at the end of the day. But when you have a group of about 10 plus people who have their hands on that, any type of leaked track or anything along those lines, what nobody notices is that they're not just sitting on that track listening to it for themselves. They're talking around groups and they're trying to get the most money they can out of it. So for me, the big reasoning with me is I didn't make the money off of leaking certain songs, and especially some of the bigger songs that I have leaked from him. I didn't make the money off of it. At the end of the day, I did that so the community could eat, and not his friends that are trying to backstab him and make, a quick couple bucks off of his name. Going back to it, that's why I said I think the music industry is just terrible, because that's a very common thing to happen right now. Every person in there, everybody knows people and they have their own groups, So it's not only the hype around someone's name that has people do this, but you got the producer's friends trying to hit up the producer and get the song from the producer. You got even just the simple people sitting in the studio just listening to it, trying to get a quick little flip buck on it, texting them, hey, can you send this over real quick? That's what I really I cannot stand about it. And when that all happens, it genuinely derails how music should be made, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely impedes on the artistic process.
Yes, sir.
This next question I got for you. How do you think Carti feels about the music leaks?
Well, I don't want to go too much into depth about how he's involved in this. I will say he is involved and he does know about what happens, okay? I think for him personally, it's all different because everybody's a human and they all react their own ways, okay? With him, he genuinely likes the fact that his music gets leaked because it shows, like I said earlier, it shows where the artist is at in that point of time in their life and what their vision is on their music at that time. So it kind of goes both ways. Yeah, he likes when the music gets leaked so his fans are able to see, where he's at in that point of time and his vision. But also too, it doesn't help as much, because when he wants to go possibly put this onto a next EP or an album or anything, you can't do it anymore because it's leaked and it's not hard to, you can go on YouTube and find the song. That's kind of hurts the career of him as well. As much as it benefits to show where they're at as an artist, it also hurts because that track can never come out again. I think the biggest thing that needs to change in the music industry is how things are organized and set up. See, years ago, like I said, I touched on it earlier, that friends, they would all go into the studio and they would try to, how would I put this? They would try to empower everybody else in that studio to get the greatest vibe they can or get the greatest, atmosphere. Like here, perfect example, when Kanye was making My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. They were all the way out in Hawaii wearing suits to make this album, right? Mm-hmm. The vibe and the aesthetic and the atmosphere was all there to create a very powerful album. Nowadays, you can't really do that because the people that you want to have around, you don't know if you can trust.
Exactly. It's a lot harder to trust everyone because the phone is always there.
Exactly. And a lot of artists, they don't want to bring in certain, producers or certain, anybody. Like, for example, Jetson Made's whole career now is kind of on a steady decline just because of the fact that he got caught selling music, So it's like for an artist or a producer like that, who made phenomenal tracks, in the recent years and phenomenal beats, they can't be there anymore because of their reputation now. And I feel like that impedes on what an artist is truly trying to get at and what how could I put this? And what the artist wants to show on the album, they can't do it all the time because they can't have the right people around, and they can't have, you know, their favorite producer around, they can't have their favorite anybody because, like I said, or how you said it, there's that phone, and you know, people are really sneaky about it. And I think one of the biggest things that just needs to change about the music industry, and you know, this goes for anywhere in life, is just you got to be able to understand that what this person is doing and why they made it to where they're at right now, they did this because this is their passion and their love, right? You can't take that away from them and constantly try to infringe on what they're doing with their own career. Like, people tend to forget that this, like, hey, this is their lifestyle, this is how they feed their families, this is how they buy themselves nice things. And at the end of the day, an artist can't put that aesthetic of what they want out and that atmosphere of what they actually want if it's constantly being leaked and it's, you know, snippets come out. What needs to change is that right there, is understanding that, like I said, this is how they feed their kids, their family, support for their families. And it almost seems that like people forget about that because of the fact that they're, you know, at the top, or they're rising, you know, they might be a hot new artist, and they see their potential to get their own bag off of them. And that's what needs to change, is everybody thinking you can make your own bag off of somebody else's name. That's not okay. Now, I know coming from a leaker, it sounds pretty bad, but again, at the end of the day, I do this for the community. I do this so fans understand where this artist is at. Or for example, with Uzi, you know, there's a lot of tracks Uzi would love to release, but due to, you know, not only label issues that were still in the past, that are still in the current moment today, but beats that are completely copyrighted and he can't release because, like I said, there's so much just infringement in the community, and it's got to go. You got to understand that these artists, it's not like everything needs to just be gatekept from an artist. People need to be able to use what they like, use what they want, and do what they want to be the best of themselves. And that's, like I said, that's kind of one of the bigger issues in the music industry, is that these labels don't let the artists be who they truly want to be. These labels try to, you know, suppress their artists or milk them for their money. And that's not, you know, nobody wants to hear repetitive songs and repetitive everything, because like I said, they're getting milked. That's not fair.